since I've done a live session, I've been primarily putting emphasis on all the TikToks and all the YouTube uploads, mainly on TikTok because I promote there and it's fun to get the message out and get some feedback on different videos. So it turns out that I haven't really made a message specifically tailored for women, and I am excited to. It's mostly been like advising men on, you know, men's and women's psychology and how to deal with different people and how to, just general advice on personal development that anyone, men or women, could assimilate or apply. And women specifically, giving advice to women I would care about, like as if I was advice to my daughter or my spiritual sisters, as in people who I really like, because they have the same values as me. And so advice I would give to them moving in the world. Like, let's say that they wanted to avoid premarital intimacy. Men, it's, there's going to be some corollary or some overlapping advice, like women should be pursuing self-intimacy. They should be exploring their bodies and using, intimate toys, and they should be creating a life that is about figuring out who they are and what activities they like, and learning from others' mistakes. And I'll start with some of the mistakes that women seem to make more than men. So what women seem to do is they seem to want to capture a man with their body. So allure a man with their body and give him physical intimacy, and that hope is supposedly or hopefully gonna get the man to commit, and then she ends up wanting to change him, right? So that just doesn't work. It's more likely to lead to a failed marriage, and also how women have this different hormonal experience of oxytocin, and where it's this bonding, and I'm sure that men have it too to an extent, but especially women, it's this bonding process. And if women are, with various guys, they'll want all the most, exciting attributes of every aspect of the guys, and nobody wants to be compared, right? So the bottom line is, don't cheat on your future spouse. That's part of the theme of my philosophies. And so if you're and so to get a good man who you like and who will provide for you, like, and this isn't just about like you specifically, like wanting to be, provided for. It's about being a being a mm, being a masculine man and being a feminine woman and celebrating that, you know, being taken care of it's a courageous to do. And so that starts with a father, right? So for a woman, that's my first advice. If you don't have a father that's like trying to make sure that you don't engage in premarital intimacy, make sure that you know, wear conservative clothing, make sure that you're in environments whenever possible that, you know, it not don't include the opposite gender. You know, sometimes people can only afford to send kids to public school, but you know, for the after school stuff, it could be all women's sports only. And you also got to be careful for like anyone, like male teachers or coaches, anything. You got to be careful for all that. But most days, you know, places are pretty safe, but but women essentially need to assume that all men want intimacy with them. That's a good starting point. And and they should women wanting to be pure. And what that means is like no attachments, no mental, like clearing their mind. And obviously if you're avoiding all men, then you're doing great. And you're employing other trusted men to do that. That could be maybe pastors. You know, some women don't have a decent father, so it's more difficult. But if you have a father figure, if you can acquire father figures, and who, you know, some of them might be married people. You know, pastors, usually it's a prerequisite to pastorship to be married. Remember that there's a lot of information out there, like or like identification. And the one critical one is, do they want to avoid premarital intimacy and help people to get marriage in a wholesome way? And you're gonna, part of this, you know, is needing to be masculine. So that would be like point number 3. If you're gonna do all this, you've got to be masculine. You've got to be uh, willing to look out for yourself. If you don't have the prerequisite father, it's like being able to switch from masculine to feminine. And it's like it just seems like it gets harder to do, and people give up after they have failed relationships. So that's why you don't want to have failed premarital intimacy, because the truth is it's like marriage. All these quote unquote relationships, even though the couple's not married, haven't had the same last name, and what have you, that they're still committed to each other. Like they're still like bonded to each other. They're still attaching, and they're pretending, they're acting like they're committed to each other, even though they're not. Like they say they're in a committed relationship. They say they're a couple. They say they're boyfriend, girlfriend. Remember to watch out for all these red flag phrases, because all those phrases, that's not, you know, that doesn't mean you're will be until you can find someone else? Does it mean that, how long does it take to decide is the other big thing. It's like people say, oh, they're getting to know each other. Like, if you should, if you really know yourself and you want to know another person, you should have a list of questions or have a compilation of your confidently as a badge, and also as a protective kind of force field around you, that this is, that restricts people, that makes it so you're very selective. And realize that, point number 4, a lot of women, they give each other bad advice. They basically like to tear each other down, and it's not an intentional thing. It's just it's a phenomenon that happens when people think that they can either, get away with. Yeah. Something that happens when